Introduction: a mirror instead of a method. Once in a generation, there comes a voice that does not ask you to follow, but to stop. To stop escaping. To stop seeking comfort in beliefs. To stop pretending that we understand what life is. Jiddu Krishnamurti was such a voice. Not a philosopher in the traditional sense. Not a guru, not a prophet, and certainly not a founder of another school of thought. He stood outside of systems and invited you to stand with him, not to agree, but to look. When he was still a young man, Krishnamurti was discovered by leaders of the Theosophical Society and prepared to be the world teacher. A global spiritual movement was built around him, anticipating a new Messiah. But in 1929, at the height of this momentum, Krishnamurti dissolved the organization with a single, courageous statement: "Truth is a pathless land." And so, he walked alone, speaking across continents, not about how to escape suffering, but about why we create it. Not about salvation, but about awareness. Not about becoming someone else, but about understanding what we already are. In his book Network of Thought, Krishnamurti unfolds what may be his most concentrated insight into human consciousness. He shows us that thought, the very instrument we use to build meaning, is also the cage that holds us captive. Therefore, he is not interested in giving you a guidebook, a model to understand psyche, or a system of philosophy. He just wants you to see him as a mirror. And in that mirror, we are invited to witness the source of our anxiety, our fear, our illusions, and ultimately, our shared humanity. Thought, the common language of suffering. Krishnamurti begins with a radical but simple statement: thought is not yours. Pause for a moment. Look around. Whether you are in Tokyo or Texas, in a church or a cafe, the machinery of thought is the same. You remember, compare, imagine, plan. So does everyone else. This is what Krishnamurti calls the network of thought, a field of collective memory and conditioning that transcends cultures, religions, and nations. When you feel fear, it's not just your fear. It's the same fear that has haunted humanity for millennia. When you feel desire, it is not a private spark. It is the fire that drives our entire civilization. Imagine two people, one in Manhattan, another in a Himalayan village. One fears losing his job, the other fears losing his goats to a snowstorm. Different details, same emotion. That's what Krishnamurti points to: thought is universal. And because it is shared, so is suffering. This changes everything. If your consciousness is not separate from mine, then personal problems are a misunderstanding. Your loneliness is not yours. Your ambition is not yours. They are patterns, repetitions in the great echo chamber of thought. To recognize this is to begin to dissolve the walls we've built around the idea of the self. The illusion of the individual. You have a name, a history, memories, awards, failures, dreams. These things feel deeply personal. But are they? Krishnamurti challenges the very foundation of the self. He shows that what we call the I is a bundle of experiences and labels, stitched together by thought. It is like mistaking a collage of old photographs for a living person. Imagine a child who grows up being told, "You're smart. You're shy. You're a winner." These ideas become part of their self-image. But what are they really? Thoughts, reflections, echoes. And yet, we cling to them as if they are the soul itself. This self-image is fragile. It demands recognition. It fears rejection. It constantly compares itself to others. Krishnamurti says, the moment you identify with thought, you create division. You split life into me and not me, and in that split, conflict is born. Have you ever watched your own mind when someone criticizes you? There's an immediate tightening, a need to defend, to justify, to counterattack. Why? Because the idea of me has been threatened. But what if there is no fixed me to protect? This is not philosophy. It is direct psychological observation. And if you see it clearly, not as an idea but as a fact, something extraordinary happens. The self begins to lose its grip. And with it, the vast machinery of conflict begins to slow down. The trap of time, I will be free one day, we live in the hope of becoming. I will overcome this anxiety. I will find love. I will be at peace. Krishnamurti called this the trap of psychological time. It is one of the most powerful illusions the mind creates. There is physical time, we age, we schedule meetings, we learn a language. But psychological time is different. It is the idea that freedom, peace, or love will come in the future. But tomorrow is created by thought. And thought is the very thing that holds the problem in place. Take fear. You are afraid of failure. So you tell yourself, I will become more confident. That sounds positive. But in truth, it hides the fear under a blanket of time. You have projected a future and made it your escape route. Meanwhile, fear continues to operate underneath. Krishnamurti asks, can you face fear now, without the idea of later? This question is like lightning. It does not comfort. It burns. But in that burning, there is clarity. You begin to see that freedom is not something you earn. It is what remains when you stop running. Fear and desire, the two faces of thought. All of our psychological suffering can be traced to two forces, fear and desire. Fear of loss. Fear of being nobody. Fear of death. Desire for love. Desire for status. Desire for peace. These two are not opposites. They are twins, born from the same mother, thought. To see this, observe a simple example. You are scrolling social media and see someone living your dream life. A wave of longing arises. Why not me? That desire, shaped by comparison, soon turns into self-doubt. That's fear. One thought creates the other. Or imagine standing in front of an audience, afraid to speak. The mind says, what if they judge me? Thought projects failure into the future, and the body reacts now. You sweat, your voice shakes. That's the power of thought, it creates time, and time creates fear. Krishnamurti does not ask you to conquer fear. He asks you to see it. Watch it arise. Follow it without interfering. When you do, you'll discover something shocking. Fear is not deep. It is a surface wave made powerful only by resistance. Similarly, desire can be observed, not as something sinful or glorious, but as movement. You see an ad. It triggers memory. That memory fuels an image. The image produces longing. This whole cycle happens in seconds, and if you're aware of it, you'll see that the craving itself is mechanical. Freedom, then, is not found in suppressing fear or indulging desire. It is found in seeing the whole movement as it is. In that seeing, there is silence. And in silence, a new intelligence is born. Relationships, the sacred mirror. Krishnamurti often said, relationship is a mirror in which the self is revealed. We think of relationships as bonds, between partners, friends, colleagues. But he saw them as mirrors. They reflect back not just affection, but also our insecurities, our attachments, our need for validation. Let's say your partner doesn't text you back in time. Your mind starts spinning. Do they not care? Are they losing interest? Where do these thoughts come from? Not from reality, but from the past. From wounds. From memory. Now imagine being able to see that process, not with judgment, but with quiet observation. Krishnamurti believed that true relationship begins only when image ends. When you no longer relate to someone through the filter of memory, what they did last year, what they should be doing now, but through fresh attention, then love becomes possible. And that love is not a contract. It is not a transaction. It is not attachment. It is not even affection. It is presence. Choiceless awareness. All of this leads to the core of Krishnamurti's teaching, choiceless awareness. This is not a meditation technique. It's not about concentrating or breathing in a certain way. It is the simple, powerful act of watching without interference. Watch your mind as it compares. Watch your body as it tenses. Watch your emotions as they rise and fall. Don't try to fix. Don't try to judge. Just watch. This kind of awareness is like a mirror, clean, untinted, impartial. In that mirror, all the tricks of the ego, all the habits of thought, all the games of time begin to reveal themselves. And with each revelation, there is a letting go. In choiceless awareness, thought loses its control. Time loses its tyranny. The self begins to fade, not into depression, but into freedom. Ending the program throughout network of thought, Krishnamurti returns to the metaphor of programming. He says the brain is conditioned like a machine. From birth, we are programmed to believe, to fear, to seek approval, to follow authority. Even our rebellion is part of the program. But once you see the program, not as an idea, but as a fact, there is a crack. In that crack, light enters. A woman once asked Krishnamurti, "How do I change?" He replied, "Don't change. See. That is the key." Awareness is not a tool of the self. It is the ending of the self. And with that ending, a new beginning is possible, not in time, not in belief, but in freedom. Conclusion: the silence beyond thought. What Krishnamurti offers in Network of Thought is not an answer, but a revolution. Not a way to improve your life, but a way to understand life itself. His words are not ladders to climb. They are fire to burn away illusion. When thought is seen for what it is, a useful servant, but a terrible master, it falls quiet. In that quietness, something timeless flowers. Not an idea. Not a belief. But a presence. Call it love. Call it truth. Call it life or call it nothing at all. Krishnamurti would not care. He only asked that you look. Not tomorrow. Not with borrowed eyes. But now. And in that looking, perhaps you will see, not something new, but something ancient and ever-present, that beyond the network of thought,